I finished week 4 of The Artist's Way a couple days ago, and I've been posting about my journey through this program on here, so I feel obligated to make a video about week 4, even though it didn't go as planned. Week 4 was supposed to be reading deprivation week, and I decided that if I was going to do a reading deprivation, I was going to do a whole media deprivation. So no TV, movies, podcasts, music, and definitely no social media scrolling on top of the no reading. I made it till like 7 or 8 p.m. on Monday night before I started reading. And then Tuesday was much the same. Wednesday, I got a little lenient with the scrolling and was reading periodically throughout the day. Thursday, I got very lenient with the social media scrolling, and I stayed up way too late reading, finishing a book that I had been working on through the week. And Friday, I had a total social media binge. I stayed up really late again, scrolling somewhat mindlessly. I don't even know that I was really absorbing any of the content that I was seeing. And then by Saturday and Sunday, the whole media deprivation thing kind of went out the window. I'm calling it more of a media mindfulness week because although I didn't pull back, do I want my hair up? I don't think I do, actually. My ears got really cold when I did that. It's chilly in here. Yeah, so even though I didn't completely eradicate out all media consumption from my life last week, I did pull it back quite a bit, and I made an effort to be more aware of what I was doing when I was doing it. I noticed that grabbing my phone, whether it's to scroll on social media or window shop online or read an ebook, is like a reflex for me. In the bathroom, in the shower, while I'm cooking, while I'm eating, while I'm just like sitting around in between tasks, when I get in my car, and I put it away before I start driving, and then when I get home, once I'm done driving. And I knew on some level that I have this big attachment to my phone. But I didn't really realize the extent of it or how automatic it is for me to reach for it for entertainment, for social engagement, for a distraction. So last week did help in that regard. Even though it wasn't a full deprivation week, I still feel like I got something out of it. I also had really strong feelings of gratitude and contentment the first couple days because I wasn't reaching for my phone as soon as I woke up. I wasn't using social media as a means to wake up or my phone in general. And it felt really natural for me to just kind of lay there while I was waking up and think about how happy I am in my life and how grateful I am for my children and my home and my partner, and mainly my children. I thought about my children a lot last week in very positive ways. And I think it's because I didn't have, as many distractions. I was still letting myself be distracted with my phone and reading and stuff, but it wasn't as severe as it usually is, especially earlier in the week. So that felt really good too. I feel now more than ever, now that I'm a third of the way through this program, that this is not made for parents or really anyone that has a lot going on, caretakers or people that have to work multiple jobs. I and I don't think I'm just using that as an excuse to, like, you know, not be doing the program to its fullest intended extent. It really is just when you have other things going on, it's very difficult and sometimes just not possible to do what the book is asking you to do what the program is asking you to do. And I know that this book is supposed to kind of inspire change and, like, force your hand a little bit to change your patterns and habits and where you spend your time and your money and put your focus. And I know that that in itself requires sacrifice, you know, even if you don't have kids and you don't have multiple jobs or you're not, you know, taking care of anybody but yourself, there's still an element of sacrifice required. So I'm not saying that it's easy for those people to participate in the program, but I think it's possible for those types of people to participate in the program. And I don't think it's possible for people like me that don't have any extra income and have children and a home to take care of to participate in this program to the intended extent. One of the tasks for week 4 was to plan a vacation for an extended artist's date. It didn't say to execute the vacation this week, but it said intend to execute it very soon or something like that. And I laughed when I read that because even if we're just talking about taking a day trip somewhere, I don't have that kind of free time and I don't have that kind of extra money, even for the gas to go on a day trip somewhere, you know? And I just had another thought and I lost it. It was in the same vein though. Hold on. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so I realized when I was doing the check-in, like the reflections for this week, that I have limited time. I've mentioned I'm a parent a million times. I have a partner who works full-time, and I have a part-time job, which I do on the weekends. So it's like my partner works full-time during the week, and then we have evenings as a family, and I've got maybe 2 hours after the kids go to bed before I need to be in bed. And then on the weekends, I work for, you know, some of the weekend and for like 4 or 5 hours at a time, including my like commute. And the rest of the time that's in between, you know, like those 2 hours in the weekday evenings and then the, you know, couple hours between my job on the weekends, it's very limited time and I have to fit in like time with my partner, time with my friends, which is really important to me, extra time with my kids, you know, maybe not during the week when they're already in bed because they're already sleeping, but on the weekends, even though our days aren't structured in the same way as they are during the week, there's still plenty of time during the day that my kids need care and attention. And so I've realized that, like, with the artist date specifically, the best day for me to do that is on Saturday or Sunday mornings before I have to work. But I'm splitting that limited amount of time between a lot of other things. And I would honestly prefer to socialize. You're supposed to do the artist date by yourself. And I would prefer to hang out with my partner or meet a friend for coffee or like a smoothie or something before I have to go to work. I'd prefer to take my kids to a park or on a walk in the neighborhood, you know? And I don't know if I'm just not at a point in my life where I like feel the need to sacrifice those things for my own creative journey, or if there's some other way that I can like do the artist date and kind of like integrate the ideas of this program in a way that still requires sacrifice and focus on my part, but maybe not as much. I don't know. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish the 12 weeks, but I'm definitely not doing the home program as written, you know, by the book. And that's okay. I think it's okay to like take what resonates and kind of leave the rest, as long as I'm not just taking what's easy. And that's why I feel like it resonates, you know. I have been doing the more difficult journal prompts, and I think there's like financial tracking at some point that we have to do, and I already do that, so I'll be participating in that. But yeah, I don't know. A third of the way through, and my feelings about the whole thing are pretty, I feel like they're pretty muddled. And I think it alternates. Like the first week, like leading up to the first week, I was really excited, and then the first week was kind of like but then I got back on track and I was into the second week, and then not really into the third week, and then the fourth week with the reading deprivation, I was excited about the possibility. I knew it was going to be difficult, but I was excited about like any change or like epiphanies that I would potentially have, and I was excited about the possibility of like this big creative like unclogging, I guess. But that's not what happened. Any space that was made with the, you know, with the media mindfulness, because it was not a deprivation. My kids took over. My kids took over that space that was made, or like housework moved in, and there wasn't enough room. Let's be fair. There wasn't enough room for there to be this like massive creative spark. I also don't know what kind of creativity like I'm looking to unlock. So when I started the program, it was like I wanted help being more consistent and creative and adventurous with my like sewing, because I make clothes and baby products and stuff to sell. Like I'm trying to make that a business. But in the first week with like the tasks and like brainstorming and stuff in the morning pages, I realized that I actually want to be a painter. I want to focus on learning how to paint. And then somewhere between week 2 and week 3, I got the idea for a romance novel. And I've wanted to be a writer. I've wanted to write books for a long time, like since my early teen years. But I gave up on that a while ago, or kind of like postponed it. Like I think when I had my first kid, I was like, okay, the writing thing, that's on the back burner for a good while, at least until my kids are grown. Maybe I'll publish my first novel when I'm like in my mid-40s or something. But then I had the idea for this romance novel. I'm like, oh, maybe I should do this now. So I'm feeling kind of, I think maybe that's also contributing to like my general sort of like haziness around the program. Is like, I don't know what direction to be going in. And I know it could just be like a general creative awakening. Like it doesn't have to pertain to like one medium or one craft, but I feel like it would be more like beneficial or effective, I guess, if I chose just like one thing to focus on. But I can't. That's just not the kind of person I am. So the tasks this week, I don't think it was anything revolutionary. I still feel very much like it's like busy work. Let me see. The reading was fine. I don't think there was anything that really jumped out to me. A couple of phrases here and there that felt like, oh, that feels right. Like this quote from Chekhov: if you want to work on your art, work on your life. I haven't read chapter 5 yet. I need to do that today. Oh, this felt like it resonated. Each of us is a unique, creative individual, but we often blur that uniqueness with sugar, alcohol, drugs, overwork, underplay, Bad relations, toxic sex, under-exercise, over TV, undersleep, many and varied forms of junk food for the soul. And this was in defense of the morning pages, which I am notably not a fan of. I fucking hate the morning pages. The artist's prayer, I did that. Oh, this. Okay, so for blocked creatives, reading is an addiction. We gobble the words of others rather than digest our own thoughts and feelings, rather than cook up something of our own. That stung a little bit to read. And this in support of the Reading Deprivation Week. Sooner or later, if you are not reading, you will run out of work and be forced to play. You'll light some incense or put on an old jazz record or paint a shelf turquoise. And then you will feel not just better, but actually a little excited. I did make an effort to be creative before reading the first, I'd say through most of the week, actually. I took time off in the evenings because usually my pattern is to like get the kids to bed, then do something productive, like do the dishes or clean up, tidy up, whatever, and then get ready for bed myself, and then, you know, tuck in for a couple hours of scrolling or reading or watching something, or some combination of all of those. And so instead of doing that last week, I made an effort to sew, even over being like productive sometimes, instead of like doing the dishes, I'd skip that and do some sewing before, you know, letting myself read a couple pages before bed or whatever. And that was nice. And I'll probably continue that practice because it felt good to like reclaim some of that time for myself in a way that felt like it was honoring like what I actually want to be doing with my time, which is sewing and making stuff. Writing the artist's prayer was cool. I did all of the tasks because I am nothing if not a dutiful student, or at least I try to be. What was my artist's prayer? That was one of the tasks that I like rolled my eyes at because I read the artist's prayer like template that she has in here and I was like, oh brother, like whatever. But I wrote mine and it was very I guess intuitive. I just kind of like wrote what was coming to mind and just like let that be what it was without really questioning it. I said, God, thank you for making me. Please give me the strength to create without shame and without fear. I trust that you have the greatest good intended for me and my art, whatever shape it takes. Amen. I didn't read it to myself every day or whatever we were supposed to do, but I did write one and maybe I'll try reading it throughout this week. I didn't do my morning pages very often because I hate the morning pages. I know that people talk about how revolutionary they are for them and blah, 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 but that is just not the case with me. I don't know. And then, yeah, I broke the reading deprivation, which was another part of the check-in. I didn't really do an artist date. I haven't done one in like 2 weeks. Maybe that's why I'm feeling a bit jaded with the whole thing too, is because I really haven't been prioritizing taking time for myself. But I just don't know what to do. Most of my artist dates end up being just me like spending money, and I don't want to do that. But the only art museums we have in the area are like a minimum like 20 minutes away. And it just seems like a lot, but it could work. It could help me get inspired. I did go to the library last week, I think. Maybe I could consider that an artist date, even though it was very brief. And I just picked out a bunch of books in the nonfiction section that spoke to me. I didn't read any of them because it was my reading deprivation week, so I was trying. But yeah, it felt good. I always feel inspired when I do that, so I guess that kind of counts. I felt like there was something else I was gonna mention. tasks. I read my prayer. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's all my thoughts. I might try to do a reading deprivation, like a full-on one, at another time when I have less books checked out from the library and there's not like this sense of urgency for my like leisurely reading, because I've got a lot of books checked out right now. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Like I said, I'm gonna finish the whole program and try not to be too much of a stickler about it, because I do feel like I'm trying my best, and I'm getting out of my comfort zone, and that's the whole point, right?